Hey, what is happening, you awesome people? Welcome back to a brand new video into the iOS 10 development course. So far, we have just had the taste of what it's like to be an iOS developer. So we have just played around with the basics of the layout. We have played around with the basics of code. We haven't talked about the actual details about that code that much, but it's about time we start digging deep into all that coding. So in this video, we're going to be talking about some of the basics, but very fundamental things that are really the core of coding. They're called strings, integers, booleans. Basically, they're in general called variables. So let's talk about that. So we're going to open up a new playground in Xcode, and I hope that you guys already know the basic layout of playground, where the code is right here. You can see the immediate response of your code right here, and if you're asking for any results to be shown, it should be shown right underneath here. And the \n represents the new line character, which is needed to show result just in a new line instead of having it right next to each other. Alrighty, so again, double \/ right here is a comment. We're importing a UIKit. We're setting a variable called str equal to whatever is in these two inverted commas. So hello playground. Any variable in these two quotation marks is called string. And strings are basically just characters, numbers, or signs, or anything at all as long as they are in these two brackets. And they will be stored in a location in the computer's memory just like that. There are two ways to set variables. One is by saying var string. Second is by let str1 equal to hello. Let's just call it hello1. Right? Now the difference between the two is the fact that var is variable. Variable simply means it can be changed later on in the program. So if you are intending to change the variable, you can just say var. If you're intending to use the exact same number which is set to be that variable, you can start with let. And you can print it out just like that. Now, if you are on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, where you have to sign in, where you have to sign up before you start using it, they're going to ask you for something called first name, and they're going to ask you for it. So let's just say the user inputs their name and the variable called last name, and the user inputs their last name. When the user actually signs into Facebook or Instagram afterwards, once they have signed up, they can see their entire name shown right there. There are two ways to do it. First is called var full name. The first method is called concatenation. Let's just say it right here. I'm hoping that this is how you spell it, but if I'm wrong, please leave a comment down below so I know that this was wrong. So this is the first method, and it's called concatenation. Concatenation can only be applied to strings, and this basically means once you have a variable which is a string, you're simply going to put that into your variable, and you're going to add a plus sign to it. You're going to put the other variable, which is a string as well. And you're done. Now if you see that they're both combined right there. Let's print it out so we know what's going on. Print full name. There you have it. So once the user has signed up, and then they sign on, this is what they're going to see. But if you notice that there is no space in between them. The best way to explain variable is it's kind of like a jar that has some kind of data in it, which you can use later on and manipulate it in your application. So to have that space, you're going to have to add another jar in this concatenation plus that this is how you can concatenate the entire name with a space in it. Alrighty, I hope you understand what this is doing right here. If you don't, just go back and do a couple of examples on your own and you should be able to understand what's going on. And the second method to do this is called interpolation. And that is, let's see how that's done. It's basically you are making the entire thing to be a string, and you're telling it that instead of giving a new set of information or new set of data inside of this string, you're going to use the previously defined variables in it. And those are first name, space. Now, since everything in this would be in between these two quotation marks, so everything that you add, whether it's a space, number sign, these numbers, or any weird thing like that, these are all going to be saved in a jar as well. Okay, so once you put the space, that's all you need. And then you're going to add another backslash last name. Make sure that the spellings and uppercase and lowercase are exactly the same so it doesn't give you any problems afterward. And we're done. So if you notice, first name is printed out right here, and there is the space, which you can see right here, and then the last name is right there as well. And if you want to see it happening, you're going to say full name 1, and it's going to get printed out. There you have it. Again, concatenation and interpolation. There we go. You can print out the entire sentence. So let's just say if you are talking to Siri and you ask Siri in iOS, hey Siri, what's my name? Siri would say, your name is, or you are this and this, whatever you told her in the beginning. So for that, you're going to print you are. Again, as long as everything is in these two quotation marks, we're going to add the space in there again. These spaces are being saved as well, as you guys can see on the right side here. And we're going to say backslash brackets first name and then another space. Alrighty, and it should print everything right now. You are Shajat J. Awesome. So we're basically learning the basics of everything in the in coding, but as you guys can see, the real life examples of that are all around you guys. You can actually do a number of things with these strings as well. For instance, if you were to ask later on in the application about is there any nicknames that you ever had, and the user says yes there is, and let's just say Hero, that's what the nickname for the user is, and you want to add that onto their full name right here the next time they open up their application. That's a very easy thing to do. What you want to do is have their full name right here. Let's just use full name. So full name, and you're going to say dot, and there are a whole bunch of different things that you can do. You're going to have to go around, search for all this information in terms of what they do, and you should be able to understand. There's a lot of stuff that you can just look up online and be able to do that. I'm not going to go into details about each one of them, but let's just say we're going to append this right here, and we're going to call the character to be nickname that we want to append to full name. And then when we print it, it's going to be very amazingly and magically changed to be, oh, first name, last name, and Hero. Again, if you want to add a space onto it. There we have it. You can see the space right there. You can also do a lot of stuff. For instance, if you want to capitalize it, you can do that as well. If you want to lowercase anything which you do not allow if there is an information that you need all to be lowercase, you can do that. You can play around with a whole bunch of different things. It's amazing. Alrighty. Now, let's talk about integers. This is all that you need to know about strings. So let's talk about. So integers are basically just whole numbers. So just like 1, 2, 3, and let's just set any integer to be var my first int is equal to 5. Now, in math, there are a whole lot of things that we can do with numbers. It's the exact same thing that we can do in Swift, Xcode, or any kind of language for coding as well. For instance, we can multiply them. Multiply would be this, asterisk. Divide would be simple simple slash. And then addition is simple and represented by this. All right, let's see it actually working. So we're going to say my first int plus 5. And we're going to see that it's equal to 10. Let's see if we can get it printed at the bottom as well. And there you go. So my first integer, which was 5, plus 5 is equal to 10. Now, this plus is different from this plus right here. This plus is giving you the mathematical result of that. And this plus is basically just combining whatever is before and after that. Next thing we can do is print my first integer, which is 5 times 5, and it's going to print that, which is equal to 25. Let's see what else we can do with this. I'm going to say my first integer minus 2, it should be equal to 3, so we have that, and print my first integer, and we're going to divide that by 5, and that should be 1. There you have it. But if you guys notice, print my first integer divided by 2. Instead of giving 2.5, it's going to give you just 2. So what is going on right here? This is just giving you the first value that you get when you divide it by 2. And it's not worrying about remainders or anything like that. It's just dividing it like that. Alrighty. Now, if you want to get the actual result of that, there is another way to go around that. But for this, let's just stick with integers first and let's see what we can do with that. And the same thing, if you were to get the remainder out of this, what you would have to do is %2. So when you divide 5 by 2, the remainder is 1. All this information is very handy at times. You would understand why later on when we actually use it. For now, just understand that dividing a whole number by another number would give you the first value that you get when you're dividing it. And it's not going to worry about any remainders. And if you just want to get the remainder of that value, you're going to have to use this % sign. How do you combine an integer with a string? Let's see if we can combine full name plus my first int. Again, in this situation, we're combining it. We're not adding them both. Now, if you see that there is an error that we have received. Okay, so what it tells you is that binary operator plus cannot be applied to operand of type string and integer. What this basically means is that Swift is a very type-sensitive language. So whatever type of variable that you are using, you cannot have a different type of variable and combine it with a different type of variable. You would have to have the exact same type of variable to combine. And for that, you can simply convert an integer to be a string or a string to be an integer as long as you have both of them the same way. Alright, so in this example, we're going to convert the integer that we have into a string by adding string in the beginning and putting this into 2 brackets. And there you have it. And you have the first name, last name, the nickname for that, which we changed afterwards, and the number 5. Again, if you were to concatenate another space into it, you would have to make it a string, and there you go. Oh, sorry, I added another extra plus there, and that should be it. The other way, which was the interpolation, is a lot easier in terms of adding any kind of variables where you don't have to switch them both because of the fact that you are putting the entire thing into these quotation marks. Let's do that. Print. And now we're going to set everything into double quotation marks. And now inside we're going to say / bracket my full name, and this time we're going to use full name 1 bracket done. I'm going to add a space, and we're going to say my first, oh sorry, and then we're going to say / brackets my first int. So interpolation is a lot easier to use when you are combining different kind of variables. So strings with integer, integers with strings. You can use either one of them, doesn't really matter. I'm not forcing any kind of these methods onto you. Whatever you're comfortable with, you can use that. The next type of variable is called float. Float is basically a number with a dot and another number, kind of like 2.5, 5.6, etc. And the reason to use that is so you can have the exact value when you're dividing it by some numbers. So it has its own usage. Once you start using them, you will know a lot more details as to when it's right to use a float, when it's right to use an integer and stuff like that. So let's just see what we can do here. So we're going to say 5.0 is my float, and we're going to do print my float divided by 2. If you guys remember, when we printed my first integer divided by 2, we received 2 and we didn't get 2.5. Let's see if we can get the 2.5 here in the float. Yes, we can. Right here. So float is actually giving you the entire value that you get when you're dividing the number by 2. And 2.0 would give you the exact same value as well. Anyways, there is another value called double. Doubles are basically the exact same thing as floats as well. Let's see, var my double is equal to 5. Print my double. Alrighty, let's see if we can get different values when we are using my double and dividing it by 2. Alrighty, doubles are basically representative of integers. But in this situation, if you were to change this to be 2.0, it's going to give you the exact same problem right there. Cannot use this on integer and double. Let's just see if we can use this right here. And there you go. So floats and doubles, they are interchangeable, basically the exact same thing, but you can look up online to see the actual difference between them. I believe the doubles can hold more numbers into them and floats have less numbers or something like that. Just look up online and see the difference. Alright, so the next thing is called Boolean. This is very important thing in coding. Boolean is something that only has two values in it. It can either be true or false. So if we say that variable game over is equal to false. Sorry, instead of capital F, it should be lowercase. Or it can be var game over. It could either be true or false. Game not over is equal to true. Again, it's lowercase. Now, what is the use of all this? The use of all this is a lot in if statements and stuff like that, where you want the computer to see if this thing is true, then do this. If this thing is true, then do that. If this thing is wrong, then do that. Wrong means false, then do that, and stuff like that. So if you want, if someone is playing a video game and you want computer to constantly check their health, and if the health goes to 0, then the game is over. So if health is greater than 0, game not over. And if health is 0, game over, and stuff like that. You'll get to that later on as well. Now, how do we add a Boolean onto any other kind of variables? Again, two different methods: concatenate them or interpolate them. And let's see if we can do that. Print full name plus. If we were to do this, what's going to happen? If you guessed that we are going to have a problem, you were right. Again, concatenation, you would have to have all of them to be strings. Is this true? It's showing us Shujat J, hero, game over. No, it's not. It's basically, this is a new value as a string that we have added. We didn't get the value of this variable, which was false, and added that onto this as jhero. To do that, we're gonna have to change a Boolean into a string. And if you guys remember, to change a Boolean or any kind of information, an integer and stuff like that, you would simply have to say string and put the variable in bracket. And now, if you guys see, it's gonna say Shujat J hero false. Again, if you were to add a space in between them, there you have it. Alrighty, I hope you guys understand how to use and combine all these variables, which you can use later on in your application. I hope you understand the differences between an integer, a string, a whole number, float, double, all that kind of stuff. That's all I have for you guys today. Keep coding, keep practicing. I hope you guys have a firm understanding of what these variables are, and I'll see you guys in the next one.